Welcome to MSP Voice, the weekly show for MSPs by MSPs. Brought to you by Cloudberry, the #1 cross-platform cloud backup. Learn more at cloudberrylab.com. This is MSP Voice. Hello and welcome to MSP Voice. This is episode number 52. Today's guest is Dawn Sizer with Third Element Consulting. Our first woman guest on MSP Voice here. She's awesome. She goes into detail not only about the success they're having at Third Element and focusing on the verticals that they do, but also goes into some detail about some programs they've created for hiring neurodiverse individuals. So neurodiversity can mean a number of things. They originally started it off because of autism, but they've since kind of expanded that. Dawn goes into a lot of really great detail, and I'm also going to give some links to some articles that she's written for MSPs if you want to look at doing this yourselves. So with that being said, just a couple of quick things this week before we get to the interview. Again, mspvoice.com is your source for all things MSP Voice. If you want to be a guest on here, just click the Be the Next Guest. It'll take you to a form here that will allow you to put your name, your email, verify you're a human, not a robot. Give me a quick message and we'll see about getting you booked on to be a guest here on MSP Voice. All right, so first up, I saw this last week and I thought, uh-oh, here's a new tactic. So criminals try to schedule spam in Google Calendar. So this is kind of a new attack vector. It's targeting Gmail users. So if you're on Office 365, I think you're okay. But if you have customers or if you're G Suite, Gmail, they could definitely be affected by this. And they call it a sophisticated scam. But it's through fraudulent, unsolicited Google Calendar notifications, as well as through other Google services, including photos, forms. And this is according to Kaspersky. So something to look out for. Take a look at the article. I'm sure Google is working on this, and we'll get it fixed up. But in the meantime, something that you need to watch out for with yourselves as well as your customers. Next up is an interesting idea that I found here by Joe at Channel E2E. It's a Bill of Rights, so the MSP and Channel Partner Bill of Rights. And it's this idea that, with everything as a service, vendors really kind of need to make some commitments to their customers and to their partners about what they will and won't do. So this is for ISVs, MSPs, MSPs, CSPs, VARs, IT consultants, and the whole gamut. But it's 10 items, such as instant on subscription services, multi-tenant, single pane of glass, scale up, scale down, app stores, pricing, branding, AI, machine learning, open APIs, hardware as a service, business ownership models and financial backers disclosures, and even support and service guide and compliance. So it's 10 things that as an ISV or as an MSP or MSSP, that you really should take a look at and make sure that you're kind of following these things. Again, this is not a Bible, so to speak, but it's just Joe's saying, hey, here's 10 things that everyone should be looking at if you provide services in the channel. So take a look at it, see if you're complying to it. And he also asked for feedback. So if you've got some other items that you'd like to be included in there, just let Joe know. So with that, I did want to point out real quick, I have links in the show notes to Dawn's articles that she's written on her blog about hiring and supporting neurodiverse employees. So it's a two-part. One is about onboarding neurodiverse employees, gives some really good information about how you onboard them, and then the other one is about supporting. So once they're hired and making sure that they're happy and everything's working out good. So again, Dawn talks about this in the episode during the interview as well. Really, really great information, and I hope you enjoy this one as much as I did. So with that, have a great week, and I'll talk to you next week. Hello and welcome. Today I am pleased to be joined by Dawn Sizer with Third Element Consulting out of Central Pennsylvania near Harrisburg. Dawn, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I am Dawn Sizer. I do own a woman-owned, which is kind of cool,
Yes.
MSP out of Central PA. We are about 8 people strong right now, and we're still growing this year. We're probably going to hit somewhere between 30 and 45% growth this year.
Awesome.
It's pretty amazing for a little company. What else can I tell you? We're an MSP, kind of like everybody else. But we do vertical into law enforcement, municipal
Oh,
government, and legal.
cool.
So that's a little bit different than some of the other MSPs.
Yeah. So how did you made you decide to start this MSP? Did you have a career in IT first? You know, did
I
you?
did have a career in IT. It's not like this is my first rodeo. Worked for other companies previously, and as a
Hmm.
woman, it's not always the most comfortable feeling to work for somebody else, especially when it's all men surrounding you.
Hmm.
The last company I worked for was very uncomfortable, and I decided to leave that uncomfortability and
Okay.
make a much better organization that's much better for the people that it employs.
Okay, great. So I'm assuming it was you were technical and you were in IT and all those types of things, and you just
Yes.
decided, hey, you know what, I can do this on my own and not have to deal with other people telling me
That's
what to do.
exactly right. Yes. I'm tired of somebody else's rules.
Now, how long has Third Element been in business?
So we've been around for 13 years. This will be 14 coming up
Oh,
in
great.
September. Yeah, so we've been around for a while.
Okay. Now, you said MSP at the beginning. Now, did you start with break fix, or has it always been
We did
MSP?
not. Surprisingly,
Huh?
we started out as an MSP. We didn't know that that was a thing back then. So yeah, we actually started out that way, and it kind of, just rolled into what we've become at this point. But yeah, we never really did break fix.
Okay. Well, and you mentioned law enforcement as a vertical, which kind of piqued my interest, because not I haven't talked to a lot of folks that focus on law enforcement specifically.
Hmm.
Are there any challenges in working with law enforcement?
No, we work with people. There's no challenges there. Um, there's all kinds of different challenges. One of the biggest ones actually hiring for us,
Hmm.
because of the amount of background checks and
Okay.
hoops that we have to jump through to
Hmm.
keep our credentials clean. There are some hurdles that we have to go through there. It is actually very difficult to hire for us.
Okay. And now, what about like recent advancements in terms of like body cameras and video? Is that
Storage is the big
storage?
thing.
Yes.
Yeah, storage. And then what do you do with all this stuff, and how do you aggregate the data, and what type of BI are we using to actually take a look at it? And
Hmm.
are there, yeah, there's a ton of different challenges that you may not see somewhere else, but it's the same challenges just on a different level as
Hmm.
far as that goes. So it's business analytics, it's aggregation of data, it's storage. It's the exact same things that everybody else is struggling with, and there's no real fantastic answer yet.
Okay.
I'd like to see that there was this, there's this thing out now and it does all of this for you and it's really inexpensive so everyone can afford it, but that's not the case, unfortunately.
So I'm sure someday we'll get there. So.
Yeah, we're getting there now. It's just not where we would all like it to be, so we can
Okay.
just snap our fingers and everything works just exactly
Yep.
the way that we anticipated that it would, or had in our heads that everything is just right there the way I was expecting it to be. But yeah, that's not really what's going on yet.
Okay. Now you mentioned hiring, and before we started talking, I was up on your website, and I noticed a couple of articles you did about hiring neurodiverse employees and how you onboard them and train them and support them.
Yes.
And I thought that was very interesting. Do you want to maybe first off start off with this idea of neurodiverse and what that means?
Absolutely, because neurodiverse covers a ton of different things. In our case, we were specifically looking at autism. I
Okay.
actually have a 21-year-old son who is autistic. We've known this since he was quite young, so it's not like it's something new for him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so as we were getting into this and realizing that, hey, there isn't really much out there available for employment for people like him, we said, you know what, he's really smart. It's not that he's not a smart kid. It's not that he
Mm-hmm.
can't handle things. It's that he communicates differently.
Yeah.
So how do we incorporate that into a business that we own so it's appropriate for him, it's appropriate for the business, it's appropriate for the employees. It's just a good culture to have that kind of thing in. So we started
Mm-hmm.
building out this program for him specifically. And then we started looking at neurodiversity as a whole. And when we talk about
Okay.
neurodiversity, we want to talk about things like apraxia of speech, which is the difficulty in coordinating motor movements for speech. So people that have like a speech impediment or just have trouble forming words appropriately, that would be them. Attention deficit disorder, which is something that everybody is familiar with, the ADD,
Mm-hmm.
the ADHDs, that kind of thing. Dyspraxia, which is clumsy movement kind of thing. So you see people that trip a lot or just have trouble making motor movements with their hands. That's
Okay.
dyspraxia. Dyslexia, the jumbling of letters when you're trying to read, and dyscalculia, which is dyslexia for numbers specifically. And then, of course, Tourette's. You may have seen somebody with Tourette's previously, which is involuntary motor tics and a vocal component that goes along with that. So we kind of took all of these and put them into a bucket and said, how do we make our company available to people that have the skills but might have an issue getting hired somewhere else? So we built out a huge program to onboard them, train them, retain them, and just created a culture of inclusion here.
That's great. And I noticed, one of the things you talk about a lot is standard operating procedures.
Yes.
And having, basically a task list for almost pretty much anything that would come up on a daily basis.
Yes,
As your
everything we do has an SOP built around it. The biggest thing, neurodiverse people, especially autistics, thrive in an environment that has rules.
Okay.
And what are SOPs besides rules, right? This is how things are done. So anytime you create out this big set of rules, it's good for everybody, not just the neurodiverse people, but the people that aren't neurodiverse that come into a situation and say, okay, well, this is how we did it over here, but I can see exactly how we're doing it here because your SOPs are very specific. I can follow along and away we go right away.
Yeah.
Yep.
So and I'm going to include links to your blog articles on the show notes because like I said, I read through it and I thought it was great just in terms of all the different things that you can do, that you have done, and what you can do not just for neurodiverse people, but you said it helps everyone at the company.
It absolutely does. And the other thing that people really should think about is not only does it affect your regular employees, your your neurotypical employees, but the ripple effect that it has on your clients too, because everybody's doing things the exact same way, and your clients know that you're supporting this type of culture as well. And it's kind of a big thing for our clients, knowing that we do support that culture, and when you have them in, they know exactly who our employees are and who they're interfacing with at any given time, which is, it's kind of nice actually.
Okay. And do you work with local agencies then too to help find and recruit employees?
Surprisingly, no. We're going to start reaching out, I think, to a couple. We've had people come in, and this is one of the reasons we started doing this as well. We saw a huge spike when we started putting ads out for hiring of people that were coming in, and I really wish they would have said, you know what, I have ADHD or I have this thing, and they weren't disclosing it during the interview process.
And you can't ask.
You can't ask.
No.
So it's one of those, like, I know this is what's going on, but I can't ask. And if you would just disclose it, this interview would go completely differently.
Yeah.
And my hands are tied, unfortunately. So you kind of start wondering, maybe I should start reaching out to agencies. So one, that I know, two, that we're okay to ask because we already have it in front of us.
Yeah.
And at least that way it's not, they're not bombing an interview because I can't ask them a simple question. Because that's, who's that fair to?
Yeah.
That's not fair to anybody.
Yeah, but I imagine too, like, with the blog articles you put out there and just making it generally known in your community that you do hire, and you have programs for neurodiverse people,
right,
that should hopefully have people come forward and say, hey, I'm on the spectrum, but I think I can do this job. And then, like you said, when they're coming in that,
exactly,
what to do and how to do that. I think it's great.
Yeah. Well, we're just getting ready to hire again, so I'll let you know how that turns out.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that is the case this time, because there were a couple people that we looked at last time, and we had said after the first interview, like, if they just would have disclosed, we would have brought them back, but they didn't. And so all we were left with was somebody that was doing some really weird stuff in an interview. So
yeah. Well, but I think even on the onboarding article you talk about interview tips for everyone, right?
Yep.
But it's all about structure and say, hey, we're going to have two parts and do this and then do that and all that stuff. So it's great articles. If you're listening and you haven't read them, definitely check out the show notes. So
great, thank you.
So kind of getting back to building your business. How do you kind of go out and get new customers? I mean, are you 100% referral? Are you advertising? Do you have a magic some magic words for
Yes,
us?
we have this magic formula that we use that no one else knows about now. Um, so what we ended up doing at the beginning of the year, we hired a gentleman, and I'm going to say right now, his name is Noah Snyder, and he is absolutely
Okay.
amazing. So I'm sure he'll hear this and be like, oh, that's so nice. But anyhow, we hired him to be kind of like an account management person. And he's turned into, an account manager. He really does have his arms around all of our clients and how we work and that kind of thing. But he is an amazing evangelist for the business.
Okay.
And that has done more than I think the amount of money that we could have dumped into marketing versus hiring this guy. I honestly believe that Noah has done more than any amount of marketing could have done.
Yeah.
Just he's able to create relationships, which a lot of what IT is, and people don't realize this from the outside world, is that IT is all about people, not about the stuff. And when you're making it about the stuff, there's really no business to be done. But when you're making it about the people and the relationship, then there's business to be done. Well, he's made it all about the people, the relationships, and building these relationships. And that's really what has kind of spurred a lot of the growth that we're seeing right now.
Great. Yeah, and I know technical evangelism, is kind of, I was that in a previous life. I'm basically doing that now. And it's not something that people understand. They're like, well, what do you do? I'm like, well, I'm an evangelist. And, they instantly think to the television preacher.
Right.
But, it's really, you're out there, you're talking to a community about your services or, your software, what services you offer, those types of things. And like you said, in meeting the people and in building the trust and the relationship. So
exactly.
Definitely important.
Yep. And I think the other thing to keep in mind too, not only from the marketing perspective and from the client perspective, but the partner perspective as well. And I think sometimes we all forget about that, the relationships that we are forging with the partners that we use, be it Cloudberry or be it, some of the other ones that are available out there. Those relationships are just as important as the ones that you have with your clients. And if you're not treating them that way, you're doing yourself a disservice.
Yes. No, I agree, and that's one of the refrains I talk about on the show all the time is talk to your vendors because they may have programs for you, and they may do joint marketing activities and all these types of things. So definitely check that out. So thinking about how you got started, and that was 13 years ago, and knowing what you know now, what kind of advice do you have for someone who might be looking to get started today?
Other than run fast. Wow, that's a really good question, and I'm not sure that I can answer that. Beyond, there are so many things that you have to think about. One, you need to have having a business background is huge, and if you don't have that, by all means, take the time, take that extra 6 months, take that extra year. Get some business background under you, especially accounting, because you don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a huge thing to say. And start learning about some of the things that you don't know about business. Get a mentor. That's another big one. Get a mentor. And it doesn't necessarily need to be somebody in the IT business. If you can get somebody that's in the IT business, not in your geographic location, my goodness, you would do so much better than we did. I can tell you that for sure. Yeah. But having somebody to bounce ideas off of, what has worked, what doesn't work, what definitely doesn't work. That kind of thing that's huge.
Okay. Yeah.
And huge.
And part of that mentor too is peer groups. We go to the ASCII shows, I know about HTG and several others. Has that been, have you been active in any peer groups like that?
So, which is really funny is that I haven't even been an ASCII member for like quite a year yet, I think.
Okay.
So we didn't know that was even a thing. Central PA is very backwards, unfortunately. And we didn't know that there were a lot of these things. Like we knew D&H had, this little convention every year in October. But beyond that, we weren't seeing a whole lot of anything else. And being in the vertical that we were in, we weren't touching a lot of other competitors. We weren't seeing a lot of that kind of thing going on. And then it just so happened that somebody had contacted us for something. We ended up going out. In fact, we actually were down at ConnectWise IT Nation and met a phenomenal partner Greenlink Networks. They're our voice over IP partner.
Okay.
And so they kind of got us connected into a couple of other places. And honestly, I can't say enough good things about them. One, as a partner, but as people as well, getting
Okay.
us connected in with other things. So
Yeah.
again, that comes back to that partners, vendors, whatever you want to call them, are so important. They're so important.
Definitely.
Yeah.
As a partner vendor, I can
Yes,
attest to
exactly.
that,
Exactly.
right? So, thinking about, the last 13 years, what's the best part of being in this managed service business? What do you enjoy the most?
Uh, it's a double-edged sword, but I'm going to say clients. We all complain about the people, right?
Hmm.
But we also want to say too that, one, being in the vertical that we're in, I love my clients. I love what they do. I love being able to support them.
Hmm.
It's a good feeling day after day knowing that they all came home safe. And one of the reasons that they came home safe is because their IT worked that
Yeah.
day. So that's kind of a big thing for me.
Okay.
That's definitely one. We're going to say that. But the other thing is being able to create the environment that we created for the employees that we have is definitely
Okay.
the next one. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's great. Like I said, I very impressed with your articles and what you've done there. Um, what's the worst part about being in services? What's
Oh,
the flip side of
people
that?
being mad at you for things that they did. And we've all had that. I mean, everybody's had that exact scenario of, client has done X, Y, Z, and it's their own
Hmm.
fault. And then they're mad at you because supposedly you didn't tell them, but you've been harping on them for 3 years that this
Yeah.
is going to happen. So I think that's the worst part. It's the most frustrating part,
Hmm.
that kind of thing. But the worst part, like I said, man, again, that's kind of hard. I think that's the most frustrating part. I don't know that there's a worst
Okay.
thing, but that's the most frustrating thing for me.
Yeah, and but I can also to a point understand it because it's a computer. A lot of people, they have no understanding of how anything works. They just know
Exactly.
to turn it on and they can type in their spreadsheet, and if something's broke, it's your fault,
Right.
not theirs.
I mean,
And
there's some of that. It's just that the due diligence that we have to go through to present
yeah,
the information, and I understand it from their perspective too. Sometimes it's due diligence on their part to not spend the money when they don't have a problem.
yeah.
I kind of get that, but it is frustrating. It's like I said, it's a double-edged sword of frustration versus I told you so.
All right, so switch gears a little bit. Let's talk about technology.
Yeah.
So thinking about technology today or in the near future, whether it's business related or consumer tech, what technologies are you most excited about?
Wow. IoT. I'm excited
Okay.
about IoT and where that's going. I'm excited about AI,
Hmm.
from a couple different perspectives. From the it's really, really cool to the maybe it's really, really bad, but it's still really,
Yeah.
really cool. So I really like the idea of AI and where it's going, and especially with the analytical nature of what
Hmm.
AI is capable of. I think that's pretty phenomenal. Some of the cybersecurity is doing, I just saw they have put out that chip called Morpheus not too awful long ago. Did you see that yet?
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
All right, so there's this really cool computer chip coming out. Apparently, it can actually encrypt itself and change itself more than 20 times a second to
Oh, wow.
thwart hacking, which I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm excited to see where that's going to go because that's
Yes.
pretty amazing stuff there. But yeah, IoT I think is a big one. What types of things are going to make our life better? I say that a little loosely, but I think they're not just in the consumer market, but in the business market as well. I mean,
Hmm.
there's a huge market for devices that
Yeah.
can do other things for us. It's just a matter of what things can they actually do, and what things make it better, and what things just make it more complicated.
Hmm. And
So
then you get the security aspect of it too, as how secure
exactly,
are they? Because
exactly, yeah.
a lot of exploits are exploiting things that these IoT devices that weren't properly patched or maintained and on the same network for whatever reason. So it's
Exactly. Or they just never have a firmware update and they're a
yeah.
consumer product and they're this and they're that. So yeah, I'm excited to see once people get their arms around, what those things are and where they're
Hmm.
going and what they're doing, what they could actually become.
Yeah. Oh, definitely agree. All right. So are you ready for our rapid fire round?
Maybe. We'll find out.
Maybe. This is easy. It's easy. So just, it's not meant to be a big quiz. Just let us know your first answer and we'll go from there. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Yep.
All right. First up, Apple or Android?
Apple.
Okay. Mac, Linux, or Windows?
So I run Windows at my desktop, but I will say that we do have Linux and Mac going in other places as well. So yes to all of that. How's that?
Okay, that's fine. Cloud services, Amazon, Azure, Google, or someone else?
Azure.
Okay. Backups, local, cloud, or both?
Yes.
Both.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. A little bit of
Should
everything.
you always virtualize? Yes or no?
Absolutely.
Okay. And finally, which is worse, printer support or vendor cold calls?
Wow, that's a good one. It depends on the printer, but
Okay.
I would say vendor cold calls unless it's like a $100 printer, and then it's worse.
Okay. Those cheap printers
The
aren't any
cheap printers
fun.
are terrible, right?
Yeah, they definitely don't make them like they used to. I know that.
Yeah.
Um, awesome. So thanks for participating in the rapid fire round. Um, before we finish up here, any other tips or tricks or words of advice you have for the audience?
Wow, I don't know where else to pull any of those from at the moment because we've talked about a lot of different things. I sometimes honestly, the best one I can say is go with your gut. Sometimes it knows better than your head does. And if you
Okay.
have that sinking feeling, get out now. Because a
Yeah.
lot of times we go into clients and like, yeah, there's money there. And you keep thinking, yeah, but maybe they're not the best fit. Maybe,
Yeah.
and if that's the case, don't take it. There's
Yeah.
a reason why your gut's telling you that.
hmm
And they're probably going to eat you alive. So don't take it.
Yeah. And unfortunately, we sometimes have to learn that the hard way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So.
I think everybody has one of those, at least one.
Yes.
Yes.
Great. Dawn, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Thanks for your insights on everything that you're doing there at Third Element.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been great. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and hopefully I'll make it to the next ASCII event that you're at instead of staying home.
That would be great.
All right. Have a great day.
Hey, you too. Thank you.